The crystal being called Elder Vorthax floated in the center of the great meeting hall. His body was made of living glass that glowed with soft blue light. He had lived for 10,000 years, and he had seen many young races rise and fall among the stars. Today he had come to warn them about the newest species to join the galaxy. "Listen carefully," Vorthax said. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We have found a new race on the edge of our galaxy. They call themselves humans. They come from a small blue planet called Earth." The younger races in the hall did not seem worried. The Zalathi ambassador, a creature named Kretok, stood up. He looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and black armor for skin. The Zalathi Empire was strong. They had conquered many worlds in the last 100 years. "Why should we care about one more primitive race?" Kretok asked. His voice clicked and buzzed when he spoke. "Every year we find new species. Most of them are weak. We conquer them or ignore them." Vorthax turned his glass head toward Kretok. The light inside him grew brighter. "These humans are different. We have watched them for a long time. They are dangerous in ways you do not understand." Another ambassador laughed. This one came from the Morvac Federation. They were tall, thin beings with gray skin and large black eyes. "Dangerous? Our scouts say they have only basic space travel. They have one colony ship heading toward empty space. How can they be dangerous?" The elders' light flickered with frustration. "You judge them by their technology. That is a mistake. Humans are dangerous because of what they are, not what they have built." Vorthax moved to the center of the room. Images appeared in the air around him. They showed Earth and its people. Look at their world. It tries to kill them every day. They have storms that destroy cities. They have diseases that kill millions. They have predators, poisons, and disasters, but they survived all of it. The images changed. Now they showed humans doing impossible things. A human lifting a car to save a child. A human walking for days without food or water. A human continuing to fight with terrible wounds. "They are persistence hunters," Vorthax explained. On their world, they would chase animals for days until the animals died from exhaustion. They do not give up. They do not stop. When they decide something must be done, they will do it, or die trying. Kretok waved 2 of his arms in dismissal. "Every race has survivors. The Zalathi are warriors. We have fought for thousands of years. You fight with strength and weapons," Vorthax said. "Humans fight with something else. They bond with everything. They bond with animals, with machines, even with plants. When you hurt one human, all humans become your enemy. They will hunt you across the galaxy for revenge." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Kretok laughed again. It sounded like breaking glass. "You are old, Elder. You see danger everywhere. These humans are just another weak race trying to leave their dying world." Far away from the meeting hall, a human colony ship moved through space. It was called Horizon's Dawn. The ship was huge but simple. It was made to carry people and supplies, not to fight. 8,000 humans were on board. They were families, scientists, farmers, and builders. They wanted to start a new life on a new world. Captain Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the ship. He was 50 years old with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been a pilot in Earth's small space fleet before becoming a colony ship captain. Next to him stood his daughter Katie. She was 25 and worked as the ship's communication officer. "How are we doing, Katie?" Jack asked. Katie looked at her screens. "Everything is good, Dad. We should reach the new system in 3 weeks. Gokyo." The other side of the bridge, Danny Chen checked their course. Danny had been Jack's friend since they were children. Now he was the ship's navigator. "The path is clear. No problems ahead." Jack smiled. This was humanity's biggest journey yet. They were going farther from Earth than anyone had gone before. The planet they had found looked perfect. It had water, air, and no intelligent life. It would be a new home for 8,000 people. In the lower decks, the colonists went about their daily lives. Maria Rodriguez worked in the engine room. She was the chief engineer, and she loved the big fusion engines that pushed the ship through space. Carl Johnson, her assistant, was young but smart. He learned quickly. These engines could last 100 years, Carl said, checking the readings. Maria nodded. They were built to last. We might need them for our grandchildren's grandchildren. The civilian section's Jake Williams taught a class of children. He had been a soldier on Earth, but now he wanted to teach history. The children loved his stories about Earth's past. Remember, Jake told them, humans have always been explorers. We crossed oceans on wooden boats, we flew to the moon in tiny metal cans, now we sail between stars, it is what we do. Amy Foster sat in the shuttle bay, checking the small emergency ships. She was one of the colony's pilots. Her job was to fly shuttles between the colony ship and planets. She was young, only 22, but she was the best pilot on the ship. These shuttles are our lifeline, she said to Tom Bradley, who was helping her. If anything goes wrong, these little ships might save us. Tom nodded. He was a mechanic who kept all the small ships working. Nothing will go wrong. This is a peaceful mission. Back in the Galactic Council Hall, Elder Vorthax made one last try to warn the younger races. The humans have a saying. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. They are always ready for danger. Do not make them your enemy. Kretok stood up to leave. Your humans are heading toward empty space near our border. If they cause problems, we will deal with them, like we deal with all problems. The Zalathi fleet is the strongest in this part of the galaxy. You have 300 ships in that area, Vorthax said. It will not be enough if you attack them. The younger races laughed as they left the hall. 300 warships against one colony ship? How could that not be enough? Vorthax stayed alone in the empty hall. He had seen this before. A young, aggressive race would attack humans. They would think it would be easy. They would learn too late that humans did not fight like other races. Humans fought like their lives depended on it, because on their world, it always had. On the horizon's dawn, Jack Morrison looked at the stars ahead. He did not know that Zalathi scouts were already watching his ship. He did not know that Kretok had decided the humans were too close to Zalathi space. He did not know that in 3 weeks everything would change. Katie came to stand next to her father. It's beautiful out here, she said. Yes, Jack agreed. Peaceful. But peace would not last. The elders had tried to warn the galaxy about humans. They had tried to explain that humans were not dangerous because they were strong or advanced. Humans were dangerous because they never gave up. They turned every defeat into a lesson. They turned every loss into fuel for victory. The galaxy was about to learn this lesson the hard way. The Zalathi Empire, with all its strength and pride, was about to make the worst mistake in its long history. They were about to attack humans who just wanted to find a new home. And when they did, they would learn why Elder Vorthax had tried so hard to warn them. They would learn that humans were unstoppable, not because they could not be killed, but because killing some of them only made the rest fight harder. The stars continued to shine in the darkness. The horizon's dawn continued its journey. And, somewhere in the void, Zalathi warships began to move toward an intercept course. The meeting that would change the galaxy forever was only weeks away. The Zalathi warships appeared from hyperspace like sharks rising from dark water. 300 vessels, each one painted black with red markings, surrounded the human colony ship in perfect formation. The horizon's dawn looked tiny compared to even the smallest Zalathi fighter. Commander Greg Palmer had taken the night shift on the bridge. He was drinking coffee when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across every screen. Greg's coffee mug fell from his hand and shattered. On the floor, "What is happening?" Greg shouted to his crew. Lisa Park, the night shift sensor operator, stared at her screen with wide eyes. "Ships, sir. Hundreds of them. They just appeared from nowhere." Greg hit the emergency button. Throughout the horizon's dawn, alarms woke 8,000 people from their sleep. Captain Jack Morrison ran onto the bridge still wearing his sleep clothes. His daughter Katie was right behind him. "Report," Jack ordered. "Unknown ships have surrounded us," Greg said. "They appeared 2 minutes ago. No response to our greetings." Jack looked at the main screen. The Zalathi ships were beautiful in a terrible way. They were long and sharp, like spears made of metal. Weapons covered their hulls. The biggest ship was 10 times larger than Horizon's Dawn. "Open all communication channels," Jack said. "Let me talk to them." Katie worked at her station. "Channels open, Dad." Jack stood straight and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Jack Morrison of the Earth ship Horizon's Dawn. We are on a peaceful colonization mission. We mean no harm to anyone. Please respond." For 30 seconds, there was only silence. Then a face appeared on the screen. It was Kretok, though the humans did not know his name. To human eyes, he looked like a nightmare. His insect face had multiple eyes and moving parts where a mouth should be. "Humans," Kretok said. His translated voice sounded like grinding metal. "You have entered space claimed by the Zalathi Empire. This is not acceptable." Jack stepped forward. "We did not know this space was claimed. Our star charts showed it as empty. We will change course immediately." "No," Kretok said. "You have come too far. You have seen too much. The Zalathi Empire does not allow weak races near our borders." Greg Palmer moved next to Jack. He whispered, "Captain, their weapons are charging." Jack tried again. "Please, we have 8,000 civilians on board, families, children. We are not a military vessel. We are just looking for a new home." Kretok's mandibles moved in what might have been a smile. "Then you should have stayed on your own world." The first blast of plasma fire hit the Horizon's Dawn like a giant fist. The ship shook so hard that people fell to the floor. The lights went out for 3 seconds before emergency power kicked in. When the lights came back, red emergency lighting bathed everything in blood-colored glow. "Hull breach in sections 4 through 7, someone shouted. "We've lost 300 people. 300 people. Gone in 1 second. Jack felt sick, but he had no time for grief. More plasma blasts were coming. "All hands, this is the captain," Jack said into the ship's communication system. "We are under attack. This is not a drill. Everyone to emergency stations." Down in engineering, Maria Rodriguez was already working. The first blast had damaged the ship badly, but not beyond repair. The problem was that Horizon's Dawn was not built for fighting. It had mining lasers for asteroid clearing and small-point defense guns for meteor protection. Nothing that could hurt a warship. "Carl, can we boost power to the mining lasers?" Maria asked. Carl Johnson's hands flew over his console. "Maybe, but it would burn them out after a few shots." "Do it," Maria ordered. "A few shots are better than no shots." Throughout the ship, something amazing was happening. The colonists were not panicking. These were people who had volunteered to leave Earth forever, to start a new life in unknown space. They were brave by nature. Now that bravery turned into determination. Jake Williams, the former soldier turned teacher, gathered the civilians in his section. "Listen to me," he said. "We might not be soldiers, but we can fight. Grab anything that can be used as a weapon. If they board us, we make them pay for every step." The colonists began to transform. Teachers picked up metal bars. Farmers grabbed their tools. Doctors prepared syringes with dangerous chemicals. Everyone who could fight prepared to fight. Those who could not fight helped move the wounded and protected the children. Amy Foster ran to the shuttle bay with Tom Bradley. "We need to get the shuttles ready," she said. "For evacuation?" Tom asked. Amy shook her head. "For ramming. If we load them with fuel and fly them into enemy ships, we might take some with us." Tom stared at her. "That's suicide." "Yes," Amy said. "Simply. But it might save others." On the bridge, Jack watched as more Zalathi ships opened fire. The Horizon's Dawn shook with each impact. More sections were venting air into space. More people were dying. "Can we jump to hyperspace?" Jack asked. "Danny Chen." Danny shook his head. "They're jamming us. We're stuck here." Katie looked up from her station. "Dad, I'm getting life signs from the ships. They're preparing boarding parties." Jack turned to Greg. "Commander Palmer, you have tactical experience. What do we do?" Greg thought quickly. "We can't win a straight fight, but we can make it cost them. If we're going to die, we make sure they remember us." The Zalathi boarding pods launched. They looked like metal seeds flying through space. Each one carried 50 Zalathi warriors. The warriors were confident. They had done this many times before. Weak races always surrendered when boarded. The fighting would be over in minutes. The first boarding pod cut through the hull of Horizons. Dawn. Zalathi warriors poured out, expecting to find terrified civilians. Instead, they found Jake Williams and 200 colonists waiting for them. The Zalathi had better weapons and armor, but the humans fought like demons. When their improvised weapons broke, they used their hands. When they were shot, they kept fighting until they died. Jake Williams killed 3 Zalathi with a mining drill before a plasma blast took him down. Even as he died, he grabbed a Zalathi warrior and held him so others could attack. The Zalathi warriors were shocked. They had never seen anything like this. These humans were not even soldiers, but they fought harder than any military force the Zalathi had faced. In engineering, Maria had managed to boost the mining lasers. "We have maybe 10 shots before they burn out," she told Carl. "What do we target?" Carl asked. Maria studied the enemy formation. "Their command ship. Even if we can't destroy it, we might damage it enough to make them think twice." The modified mining lasers fired. Beams of concentrated energy, far more powerful than they were designed to be, shot out from Horizon's dawn. 3 beams hit the Zalathi command ship. They did not destroy it, but they burned through its shields and scarred its hull. On his command ship, Kretok was shocked. "How? That ship has no weapons." "They modified their mining equipment," his second-in-command reported. "Clever for primitives. More boarding pods attached to Horizon's dawn. More Zalathi warriors entered the ship, and more of them met fierce resistance. In one section, a group of farmers had turned fertilizer into bombs. In another, medical staff had created gas from cleaning chemicals that burned Zalathi lungs. The ship's doctor, an older woman named Betty White, worked without rest in the medical bay. She saved who she could, but the wounded were coming too fast. When Zalathi warriors broke into the medical bay, she stood between them and her patients. "You will not touch them," she said. The lead Zalathi warrior laughed and raised his weapon. Betty threw a syringe that hit him in what passed for his neck. The syringe was full of human adrenaline, concentrated and pure. To a human, it would give energy. To a Zalathi with completely different chemistry, it was poison. The warrior fell, convulsing. Betty smiled coldly. "We might be healers, but we know how bodies work, yours and ours." All across the ship, similar scenes played out. Humans who should have been helpless fought with intelligence and desperation. They turned the ship itself into a weapon. They vented sections to space when Zalathi were in them. They overloaded power conduits to electrocute boarders. They fought with a fury that the Zalathi had never encountered. But despite their courage, the humans were losing. There were too many Zalathi, too many weapons, too much damage. Half the ship was dead. Thousands of people were gone. Jack Morrison stood on the ruined bridge. Most of his crew was dead or wounded. Katie was still at her station, blood running from a cut on her head. Danny Chen was unconscious. Greg Palmer was organizing the last defense. "Maria," Jack called engineering. "Can you overload the fusion reactor?" There was a pause. Then Maria's voice came back. "Yes. But Captain, I know what it would do," Jack said. "How long do you need?" 10 minutes. Maybe 15. "Do it," Jack ordered. Then he turned to Katie. "Can you get a message out, break through their jamming?" Katie's fingers flew over her console. "Maybe, if I focus everything we have left on a tight beam transmission." "Do it. Tell Earth everything, show them what happened here." In the shuttle bay, Amy Foster had come to the same conclusion. The Horizon's dawn was lost. But someone had to warn Earth. She began preparing a shuttle not for ramming, but for escape. She stripped out everything except engines and life support. She would have to fly alone. Tom helped her load the shuttle with recordings from the ship's computers. Evidence of the attack. Messages from the dying colonists. Proof that humanity was not alone and not Welco. Amy Foster knew she was dying. She could feel it in her bones, in her blood, in every labored breath. The shuttle's engines were running at 300% capacity. The G-forces were crushing her slowly, pressing her so hard into the pilot's seat that she could barely move her fingers to adjust the controls. But she had to make it. She had to warn Earth. Behind her, far behind now, the debris field that had been Horizon's dawn spread through space like scattered seeds. The Zalathi ships were regrouping, counting their losses. They had won, but it had cost them more than any battle in their recent history. Amy's vision was starting to blur. Blood vessels in her eyes were bursting from the pressure. She reached for the medical kit with shaking hands and pulled out a stimulant injector. It was meant for emergencies to keep someone awake during disaster. She had already used 3. This would be her 4th. The needle went into her leg. The drug hit her system like electricity. Her heart raced even faster. She knew she was damaging her body beyond repair, but it did not matter. Only the message mattered. In the shuttle's computer, she had everything. Video recordings of the attack, the sensor data showing 300 warships appearing from nowhere, the communications where Kretok had condemned 8,000 civilians to death simply for existing. The final messages from the colonists to their families on Earth. One message was from a little girl named Lucy, maybe 7 years old. She had recorded it as the ship was dying. "Mommy, if you get this, I want you to know I was brave. Just like you told me to be. I love you." Amy played that message once to keep herself angry, to keep herself focused. The anger helped fight the pain. The shuttle's computer beeped a warning. The engines were starting to melt. The heat shields were failing. She was literally flying the shuttle apart, but she had covered incredible distance. Earth was still months away at normal speed, but at this rate she might make it in weeks if she lived that long. Back at the debris field, Commander Yextar of the Zalathi fleet surveyed the damage. He had taken command after Kretok's death. The losses were embarrassing. 17 ships and over 1,000 warriors dead because of one colony ship with no real weapons. "Should we pursue the escape pod?" his lieutenant asked. Yextar considered. They had detected one small craft leaving before the explosion, but it was moving so fast it would destroy itself soon. "No need. Whatever fool is flying that shuttle will be dead within days. No organic being can survive those acceleration forces for long." He was right. But he had underestimated human stubbornness. Amy made it 2 days before her body started to shut down. Her kidneys were failing. Her liver was damaged. She was bleeding internally from the constant pressure. But she had programmed the shuttle's autopilot. Even if she died, the shuttle would continue to Earth. She used her remaining strength to record one last message. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. "This is Amy Foster, pilot of the colony ship Horizon's Dawn. I am probably dead by the time you receive this, but you need to know what happened. We were attacked without warning. 8,000 people are dead. The aliens call themselves the Zalathi. They are hostile. They will kill us all if they find Earth. You need to prepare. You need to be ready." She attached all the data to her message and set it to transmit continuously once the shuttle got within range of Earth's outer detection stations. Then she leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. Amy Foster died on day 3 of her journey. She was 22 years old, but the shuttle flew on, carrying her body and her message through the dark between stars. On Earth, life continued normally. People went to work, children went to school, and nobody knew that humanity's greatest test was coming. The planet had united 50 years earlier, after the last Great War. There was one government now, one space fleet, one voice for humanity among the stars. But it was a voice of peace, not war. Admiral Susan Clark was in charge of Earth's orbital defense platform when the message came through. It started as a weak signal from the outer system, barely detectable. But it was using emergency protocols, maximum priority. "Sir, we're receiving a distress signal," Lieutenant Paul Murphy reported. "It's from one of our shuttles, but the identification matches the Horizon's Dawn." Susan frowned. The Horizon's Dawn should be months away from its destination, nowhere near Earth. "Put it through." Amy Foster's dying message played across the command center. Every person stopped what they were doing to listen. Then came the video files, the massive Zalathi fleet, the unprovoked attack, the colonists fighting, with garden tools and medical supplies, children screaming, families dying. And finally, the last transmission from Captain Jack Morrison. Earth, we are about to die. But we die to warn you. You are not safe. Prepare yourselves. Avenge us. The command center was silent for a long moment. Then Susan turned to her staff. Her face was carved from stone. Send this to the president, to the Joint Chiefs, to everyone with security clearance. She paused, and start calling in every retired military officer on the planet. We're going to need them all. The shuttle arrived 3 weeks after Amy's death. When recovery teams opened it, they found her still strapped into the pilot's seat. The G-forces had been so intense that her body was compressed, smaller than it should have been, but her hands were still on the controls. She had died flying. They also found something else. Amy had carved 4 words into the shuttle's control panel with her fingernails, probably in her last moments. Make them pay. Remember. President Chen addressed the world that night. He was an older man, wise and careful with words, but tonight, his voice carried something new. Rage. Citizens of Earth, he began. Today, we learned that we are not alone in the universe. We also learned that 8,000 of our brothers and sisters, people who went to the stars in peace, were murdered. Killed for the crime of existing. Killed for being human. He paused, letting the words sink in. Across the planet, 5 billion people watched in stunned silence. The beings who did this think we are weak. They think we are primitive. They think we cannot respond. His voice grew harder. They are wrong. From this day forward, every resource on Earth will be devoted to one goal. We will build a fleet. We will train an army. And we will show the galaxy that humanity does not forgive, we do not forget, and we absolutely do not surrender. The transformation of Earth began that night. Car factories started making weapons. Universities became military research centers. Every able-bodied adult volunteered for service. Children collected metal for recycling into ships. The elderly taught classes on strategy and survival. The most brilliant minds on Earth came together. Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been developing mining equipment, started working on weapons that could crack asteroids or ships with equal ease. Professor John Brown, who studied particle physics, began designing antimatter bombs small enough to fit in a coffee cup. But it was not just about weapons. Humans studied the recordings from Horizon's Dawn obsessively. They learned how Zalathi, ships moved, how their shields worked, how their warriors fought. Every weakness was catalogued. Every strength was analyzed. In the shipyards above Earth, new vessels began to take shape. These were not colony ships or exploration vessels. These were warships, built with one purpose, to kill. But they were human warships, which meant they were different from what other races built. The ships were ugly by galactic standards, rough and functional, with no wasted space. But every inch was devoted to survival and combat, redundant systems, backup life support, weapons made from mining equipment, construction tools, and medical devices. Humans had always been good at turning everyday items into weapons. Now they did it on a massive scale. General Robert Clay, a veteran of Earth's last wars, was put in charge of training. He stood before the first batch of volunteers, 100,000 strong. You are not here to be soldiers, he told them. You are here to be something more. You are here to be humanity's vengeance. Every one of you represents one of the 8,000 who died. You will carry their memory into battle. You will make their killers regret the day they heard the word human. The training was brutal, but nobody quit. The images from Horizon's Dawn played in every barracks, on every screen. The dying words of the colonists became a prayer, a promise, a battle cry. The first ship was completed 6 months after. Amy's message arrived. They named it Vengeance. It was smaller than a Zalathi battleship but packed with weapons. Its captain was Ben Harper, who had lost his entire family on Horizon's Dawn. His wife had been a teacher. His son had been 12. Ben stood on the bridge, of vengeance as they tested the weapons. Mining lasers that could drill through a moon. Medical scanners repurposed to find weak points in enemy armor. Construction foam that could seal breaches or suffocate boarding parties. "How many ships will we have?" his executive officer asked. 40 in 2 years, Ben replied. "It is not many against 300. "It will be enough," the officer said. "It has to be." But humans were not just building ships. They were building something more dangerous, a species united in purpose. Every human on Earth now had the same goal. Every scientist, every worker, every child was part of the war effort. In secret laboratories, weapons were developed that violated every civilized rule of war. Biological agents designed to target Zalathi, specifically. Computer viruses T. The Zalathi patrol commander watched his screens with confusion. 60 warships under his command floated at the edge of Zalathi space, the same region where Horizon's Dawn had died 2 years ago. His sensors showed 40 ships approaching. The strange thing was they were not trying to hide. Human vessels, his sensor operator reported. Moving fast. They will be here in 1 hour. The commander clicked his mandibles in what his species considered laughter. 40 ships against 60? These humans are either brave or stupid. He opened a channel to the human fleet. "Human vessels, you are entering Zalathi space. Turn back or be destroyed like your colony ship." The response came immediately. It was Captain Ben Harper of the Vengeance. His face was calm, almost friendly. "We're not turning back. We came here to deliver a message. You can receive it peacefully or we can write it in the wreckage of your ships." The Zalathi commander was amused. These humans had courage. Too bad it would not save them. "All ships prepare for battle. Let us finish what we started 2 years ago." The two fleets closed on each other. The Zalathi formed their traditional battle formation, a wall of ships with overlapping fields of fire. It had won them 100 battles. The human ships did something unexpected. They scattered. "What are they doing?" the Zalathi commander asked. "They're breaking formation." His tactical officer was equally confused. "It makes no sense. Scattered ships cannot concentrate fire. They will be destroyed piecemeal." Then the human ships released something. Thousands of tiny objects too small to be fighters, too numerous to track. They spread out like a cloud of insects moving in seemingly random patterns. "What are those?" the commander demanded. Before anyone could answer, the objects reached the Zalathi fleet. They were drones, each no bigger than a human head. They had been made from mining robots, designed to work in asteroid fields. But humans had given them a new purpose. Each drone carried 1 gram of antimatter. The first explosions were small, like firecrackers against the hulls of the massive Zalathi ships, but there were thousands of them. They targeted specific points, sensor arrays, weapon ports, engine exhausts. The Zalathi point defense weapons fired frantically, but the drones were too small, too many, moving too randomly. Within minutes, half the Zalathi fleet was blind, their sensors destroyed. A quarter had lost primary weapons. Several had engines, damaged. The mighty warships were still alive, but they were wounded, confused, vulnerable. That's when the human ships attacked properly. Captain Ben Harper gave the order from Vengeance. "All ships execute pattern Delta. Show them what humans do to child killers." The 40 human ships moved with perfect coordination. They had practiced this for 2 years. They knew exactly where to hit a wounded Zalathi ship. Mining lasers, designed to crack asteroids, punched through weakened shields. Construction foam, fired from what used to be concrete pumps, filled Zalathi gun ports and hardened instantly. But the real surprise was the boarding parties. The Zalathi had not expected humans to board their ships. It was insane. The Zalathi were larger, stronger, had better armor. But the humans who came aboard were not normal soldiers. They were volunteers who had lost family on Horizon's Dawn. They had trained for 2 years for this moment, and they had come to die. Squad leader Charlie Wilson led the first boarding team onto a Zalathi cruiser. He had been a construction worker on Earth. His sister had been a nurse on Horizon's Dawn. He carried a weapon that should not exist, a portable railgun made from a nail gun and superconducting magnets. The Zalathi warriors who met them were confident. They were each 7 feet tall, covered in natural armor that could stop most energy weapons. They had fought dozens of races and never lost in hand-to-hand combat, but they had never fought humans who had nothing left to lose. Charlie's team did not fight with honor. They fought with hate. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, they used explosives. When explosives ran out, they used industrial cutting tools. When those broke, they used their hands and teeth. The Zalathi warriors were horrified. One of them had his arm torn off by a human woman who weighed half what he did. She had jury-rigged a hydraulic press from ship parts and turned it into a weapon. Another Zalathi was killed by a human who had strapped explosives to himself and simply hugged the warrior before detonating. "They're insane," a Zalathi warrior reported to his commander. "They don't fight to win. They fight to kill. Even when mortally wounded, they keep fighting." Across the battle, similar scenes played out. Human boarders turned Zalathi ships into slaughterhouses. They pumped toxic gas through ventilation systems. They sabotaged reactors. They destroyed life support systems, and then kept fighting in vacuum suits while the Zalathi suffocated. In space, the human ships continued their assault. They had another surprise: ramming. 3 human ships, too damaged to continue fighting, simply accelerated to maximum speed and crashed into Zalathi vessels. The humans aboard had time to evacuate, but many chose to stay, riding their ships into death. The Zalathi commander watched his fleet being torn apart. This was not warfare as he understood it. There were no battle lines, no honor, no rules. The humans fought like rabid animals, like forces of nature, like demons from ancient Zalathi myths. "Send a distress signal," he ordered. "We need reinforcements." But the humans had thought of that too. Electronic warfare drones built from old communication satellites jammed all frequencies. No message could get out. The Zalathi fleet was alone. Meanwhile, on the human flagship Independence, Admiral Jennifer Liu watched the battle with cold satisfaction. Jennifer had been 10 years old when her parents died on Horizon's Dawn. Now, at 12, she was one of humanity's youngest military advisors. Children who lost parents in the attack had been given special training, turned into strategic weapons. Phase 2, she ordered. The human ships had been holding back their most terrible weapons. Now they deployed them. Clouds of nanobots, originally designed for medical purposes, were released into space. They were programmed to seek out Zalathi biological signatures and dissolve organic matter. The first Zalathi ship hit by the nanobot cloud started screaming over communications. The microscopic robots had entered through tiny hull breaches and were literally eating the crew alive, breaking them down, molecule by molecule. "What kind of monsters are you?" the Zalathi commander transmitted to the human fleet. Ben Harper responded personally. "We were teachers and farmers. We were doctors and builders. We were peaceful explorers who wanted to see the stars. You made us into monsters. You killed our families. You murdered our children. Now we are your consequences." The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, all 60 Zalathi ships were destroyed or captured. The humans had lost 12 ships, but they considered it a victory. More importantly, they had sent their message, but they were not done. The human fleet moved deeper into Zalathi space. They had studied the captured star charts. They knew where the Zalathi colonies were, where their shipyards were, where their government was, and they had plans for all of them. The first Zalathi colony they reached was an agricultural world that fed a dozen systems. The humans did not bombard it from orbit, which is what the Zalathi expected. Instead, they deployed a biological weapon. It was based on Earth locusts, genetically modified to eat Zalathi crops and nothing else. Within weeks, the entire planet's food supply was gone. The second colony was a mining world. The humans deployed computer viruses that took control of the automated mining equipment. The machines turned on their masters, causing cave-ins and explosions. The colony had to be evacuated. The third colony was a military training facility. The humans did something truly psychological. They broadcast the recordings from Horizon's Dawn on every frequency, on every screen, constantly. The dying screams of human children played in every Zalathi barracks. The images of families being murdered played in every mess hall. The Zalathi warriors, who had been taught that they were the apex predators of the galaxy, watched humans fight to the death with gardening tools and kitchen knives. Many Zalathi warriors broke mentally. They had been raised to believe in honor, in the glory of combat against worthy foes. But there was no honor in what they had done to Horizon's Dawn. They had murdered civilians. They had killed children. And now those dead children's siblings were coming for revenge. Word spread through Zalathi space like wildfire. The humans were not just winning battles. They were destroying the very idea of Zalathi superiority. They were showing the galaxy that the mighty Zalathi Empire could be hurt, could be humbled, could be broken. On the Zalathi homeworld, the government met in emergency session. The new Supreme Commander, who had replaced Kretok, addressed the assembly. "We must seek peace," he said. "These humans will not stop. They will keep coming until we are all dead or they are." "But we are the Zalathi," another official protested. "We do not surrender to inferior races." "They are not inferior," the Supreme Commander replied. "We made a mistake. We thought their kindness was weakness. We thought their desire for peace meant they could not war. We were wrong. They are the most dangerous race we have ever encountered because they have nothing left to lose and everything to prove." Back in the human fleet, Captain Ben Harper stood over a star chart with his officers. They had been fighting for 3 months. They had destroyed. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never been so full. Representatives from every known race in the galaxy had come to witness something unprecedented. The Zalathi Empire, which had never bent to anyone in 3,000 years, stood in chains before the assembly. Ambassador Kretok, the same warrior who had ordered the destruction of Horizon's Dawn, stood at the center. He was different now. His proud stance was gone. His multiple eyes, which once gleamed with arrogance, now showed something the galaxy had never seen in a Zalathi. Fear. Elder Vorthax floated at the council's center, his crystalline form pulsing with slow, steady light. 5 years ago I warned this assembly about humanity. I told you they were dangerous. You did not listen. The younger races shifted uncomfortably. Many of them had laughed at the Elder's warnings. Now they watched as the mighty Zalathi Empire submitted to a race that had only 40 ships when the war started. Captain Jack Morrison entered the hall. He had survived Horizon's Dawn by pure chance, having been on a supply run when the attack came. For 5 years he had led humanity's war against the Zalathi. His face showed those years. His hair had gone completely white. His eyes carried the weight of every death, both human and Zalathi. Behind him walked Jennifer Liu, now 17 years old. She had been 12 when she helped plan humanity's revenge. The galaxy found it disturbing that humans would make a child into a military commander. They did not understand that when you killed human parents, their children did not just grieve. They evolved. They adapted. They became something terrifying. "Ambassador Kretok," Jack said, his voice carrying through the silent hall. "You stand, accused of the murder of 8,000 human civilians. How do you answer?" Kretok's mandibles clicked nervously. I was following the doctrine of my people. We saw weakness and sought to exploit it. We did not understand. You did not understand that humans mourn differently than other races," Jennifer interrupted. Her young voice was steady and cold. "When you killed our families, you thought we would fear you. Instead, we studied you. We learned everything about you. Your biology, your psychology, your fears." She pulled out a small device. When she pressed it, a high-pitched sound filled the hall. Every Zalathi present, including Kretok, fell to their knees, their bodies racked with pain. The sound was specifically designed to resonate with Zalathi nerve clusters. It caused agony but no permanent damage. Jennifer let it play for 10 seconds, then turned it off. That device was created by a 15-year-old human student, a child. Imagine what our adults can create when motivated by revenge. The assembly was deathly quiet. Many representatives were reconsidering every interaction they had ever had with humans. Jack stepped forward. The Zalathi Empire is broken. Of their 3,000 warships, less than 300 remain. Of their 100 colonies, half are crippled. Their economy is in ruins. Their people are terrified. He paused. And humanity did this with less than 100 ships total. A representative from the Morvac Federation stood up. How? How did so few defeat so many? It was Elder Vorthax who answered. Because humans do not fight wars the way we do. We fight with honor, with rules, with limits. Humans fight with everything they have, everything they are, everything they might become. They turn their entire species into a weapon. Jack nodded. When you killed our civilians, every human became a soldier. Our children designed weapons. Our elderly planned strategies. Our artists created propaganda. Our doctors developed biological weapons. Even our pets were trained to detect Zalathi pheromones. He turned to address the entire assembly. But we are not here to gloat. We are here to offer the galaxy a choice. A hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed two images. One was of Horizon's dawn, peaceful and hopeful, carrying families to the stars. The other was of humanity's war fleet, dark and terrible, built only to destroy. This is what we were, Jack said, pointing to Horizon's dawn. Explorers, builders, dreamers. We wanted to see the stars, to meet new races, to share knowledge and culture. He pointed to the war fleet. This is what you made us become. Killers, destroyers, the thing that goes bump in the night of every race that thinks about attacking us. Jennifer stepped forward. But we can be both, and we can be more. Today, we offer the galaxy the Morrison protocol named after Captain Jack Morrison. The protocol appeared on screens throughout the hall. It was simple but revolutionary. Any attack on human civilians would result in total war, not limited war, not proportional response, but the complete dedication of human civilization to the destruction of the attacker. But any race that approached humanity in peace would find their most eager partners, their fiercest allies, their most dedicated friends. We also offer the Liu Initiative, Jack said, nodding to Jennifer. Any race that signs a peace treaty with humanity will receive our protection. Attack them, and you attack us. Their children become our children. Their families become our families. The Vegan ambassador, whose race was small and often bullied by larger empires, stood up. You would protect us, even though we have nothing to offer? Jennifer smiled, and for the first time she looked her age. 3 years ago, a Vegan trader warned one of our ships about a Zalathi ambush. That trader saved 200 human lives. We do not forget kindness any more than we forget cruelty. More races began to stand, eager to sign treaties with humanity. They had seen what humans did to enemies. The thought of having humans as allies was extremely attractive. But then Kretok spoke. What of the Zalathi? What is our fate? Jack and Jennifer exchanged looks. This had been debated on Earth for months. Many wanted the Zalathi extinct. Others wanted them enslaved. But in the end, humanity had chosen something else. You will live, Jack said. Your empire will be reduced to 10 systems. Your military will be limited to defense only. You will pay reparations to the families of Horizon's Dawn for 100 years. Kretok's eyes widened. That is more merciful than we deserve. Yes, Jennifer said simply. It is. But humanity is trying to be better than our anger. We are trying to be what we were before you attacked us. The decision was not easy. Many humans wanted you all dead. She pulled out a data pad. This is a list of 8,000 humans who volunteered to die fighting your empire. They wrote their names in their own blood, swearing to kill Zalathi until none remained. Do you know what stopped them? Kretok shook his head. A message from the children who survived Horizon's Dawn. 200 children who watched their parents die. They said that if we killed all Zalathi, we would become like you. We would become the monsters who kill children, and our parents would have died for nothing. The hall was silent. Many races were reconsidering everything they thought they knew about humans. Elder Vorthax spoke again. The galaxy has learned what I tried to teach 5 years ago. Humans are unstoppable because they choose when to stop. They could have destroyed the Zalathi completely. They chose mercy. They could have conquered the galaxy with fear. They chose to offer friendship. Over the following days, 170 races signed peace treaties with humanity. The galaxy had never seen such rapid diplomatic change. Every race had the same thought: better to be humanity's friend than enemy. The Zalathi were transformed as well. Kretok, the warrior who had started the war, became the strongest voice for peace. He traveled to Earth and knelt at the memorial. For Horizon's dawn, he read every name. He learned every face. He carried their memory for the rest of his life. 20 years passed. The galaxy changed. Human technology, shared freely with their allies, advanced civilization by centuries. Human medicine saved billions of lives. Human agriculture ended famines. Human engineers built wonders, but everyone remembered the war. Children of all races learned about Horizon's dawn. They learned about Amy Foster, the pilot who flew herself to death to warn Earth. They learned about the 8,000 who died and the millions who took up arms in their name. Admiral Katie Morrison, daughter of Jack Morrison, now commanded humanity's peace fleet. These ships were different from the war fleet. They were painted white and carried both weapons and humanitarian supplies. They patrolled the galaxy, protecting the weak and helping those in need. One day she received a distress signal from a Zalathi colony. Pirates were attacking and their limited defense forces could not stop them. Many human commanders would have been slow to respond. The Zalathi were still hated by many humans. But Katie remembered her father's words. We are what we choose to be. Every day we choose. The human fleet arrived in time. They destroyed the pirates and saved the colony. As Katie walked through the rescued settlement, Zalathi children looked at her with awe. One small Zalathi, barely able to walk, approached her and offered her a flower. Katie knelt down and accepted it. The child's parent approached, terrified. I apologize, Admiral. I will... No apology needed, Katie said. She looked at the child. What is your name? My name is Hope, the child said in broken human language. My parent named me Hope because humans gave us hope when we deserved death. Katie smiled and patted the child's head. Hope is a good name. Never forget it. As she returned to her ship, Katie thought about how far both races had come. The Zalathi had learned humility. Humans had learned restraint. Both had learned the price of war and the value of peace.